Okay, we're continuing here in Tehillim Ayin Gimel, which is 73. And I think we did 3 psukim in 2 weeks. So I'm going to skip a little bit so that we're going to move along to come to another concept which is very central to our faith and very central to the way that we kind of look at things in the world. And I hope that Im Yetz Hashem will tie it into Lag BaOmer today as well. I'm skipping to pasuk number 13, Yud Gimel, and maybe we'll just see 12 before that. Remember we said that there's 2 types of people that are in the world. Dovid Asaf has been telling us, one at tzaddikim and the other one at Rishoyim, the wicked. And sadly, we often find that tzaddikim are the ones that are suffering, and the Rishoyim are the ones that are prospering. They do all these terrible things, and yet money's coming in, job is good, vacations all over the world, and the tzaddikim are, month to month trying to pay the rent and pay the bills, and they have tsaros, and they have all different things, and Asaf is trying to make some kind of heads and tails of this whole business here. So he says, Hine Eila Rishoyim. These Rishoyim, these wicked people, the Shalvei Olam, they're always content. They're like always peaceful. Everything is going great. Hizku Chayil, they attain great measure. And I don't understand why that should be. So listen what he writes. Achrik Zekisi Levavi. And it must be that for no reason in vain, I kept my heart clean. Ve'erchatz b'nikoyin kapai, and I washed my hands in purity. Now, as we're going to see over here, I hear this question all the time from people, and we'll see how Rav Hirsch and the others explain it. What does it mean, achrik? It must have been in vain that I kept my heart clean. This is a tzaddik that is talking. There's a person who's trying to do the will of Hashem. Let's call him not even a tzaddik, a regular person like ourselves. We're trying our best. We're keeping Shabbos. We're keeping kosher. We're saying brachas. We're trying not to covet other people's things. We're trying to work on our midas. We're trying to be ehrlich, honest people. And yet we look around us and we see what's going on, and life has a way of twisting and turning and ups and downs, falling in pit holes and the like. Nisyonos that HaKadosh Baruch Hu piles up on top of a person, and then we look around and there's other people that are doing much better than us. And they're not even as righteous as we are. They're not doing the same amount as mitzvahs as we are. They're not trying as hard. I wouldn't even call them maybe a religious person, and yet I look at their life, and their life is so good. So why is it that I'm the one that's trying so hard to make Hashem happy? I'm the one that's dedicating my life to Yiddishkeit, to Avodas Hashem, to davening, to you name it. And in my own life, there's all these things that are going on that make absolute no sense. So a person would come to a place and they would say, so then everything I'm doing is in vain. What's the point of being such a tzaddik if this is the way HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to treat me? Says Rav Hirsch, it is utterly in vain for me to keep my mind pure and my hands unsullied. It's a waste of time. I tried, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, I gave up so much for you. I do so much for you. I'm trying so hard. And what do I get in return? I get one beating after another and a set of nisyonos and challenges and this and that and that. So what's the point? Why should I do that? I'm better off to not try so hard and stress myself out over Shabbos and stress out over this and stress out over that and have good midas, and maybe I'll be like a rush. I'll get all the good stuff that's coming to me anyway. So what's the point? This is this is the question that people ask. So then why would I want to be a tzaddik? If the tzaddik is the one that's going to suffer in this world, so why would I want to be a tzaddik? If the person is trying the hardest to please HaKadosh Baruch Hu and bring him nachas, ruach, make him happy, she's the one that's suffering, so why would I try so hard? Why would I want to do that? It doesn't make sense. If there's a game of basketball going on and there's a kid that's trying very hard, he's going to find favor in the eyes of the coach, and the coach is going to put him on the starting team, and he's going to take off. I thought like I'm an MVP over here. I'm trying my best. I'm doing what I can do. I'm pushing myself. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you end up whacking me and punishing me and hurting me and taking away my money and taking away this and taking away, like, what's the point? This the way the Rav Hirsch begins to approach it. Says Rashi over here. Oh no, let's go. Let's see. Metzudas Dovid says like this: Achrik, it must be for no reason. It must be an emptiness that I'm doing this. L'rik ubechinam. I'm doing it for reik. It's empty ubechinam and for no reason. Hayisi zach halevav. I was cleansing my heart. Mibli hioror avain. I don't even think about doing sin. Rechatzti kamba. I cleanse my hands. Lios menukim migezel v'shar averos, so that my hands should have no theft, no other averos. My heart is clean. My hands are clean. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you know how hard I'm trying. For what? So I can get punished in the end? So I don't have success in this world? So that I struggle in this world? So that you send nisyonos my way? You keep sending me challenges left and right? Is that why I'm trying so hard? It's a good question, by the way. It's a really good question. Why would I want to be a tzaddik? Why would I want to do so much for HaKadosh Baruch Hu if that's the way He's going to treat me? Why would I want to do that? And so the author of this Tehillim, Asaf, is being very honest over here. He's a Navi, he's a prophet. But he's saying this is what people are going to say. If HaKadosh Baruch Hu, people keep looking out in the world and they see the Rishoyim are prospering and the righteous are suffering. You know what they're going to say? So then why bother being a tzaddik? Why should I try so hard? This is what you're going to do to me in the end of the day anyway. Say the other Mefarshim, the Radak says, Ani, Shani Avdai, all of my service of you, Hashem, Larik, is for no reason. Zachisi, Levavi, I cleanse my heart. Ularik rechatzti v'nikayin kamai, and for no reason that I cleanse my hands. Kleimar, Libi naki, my heart is clean. Umaisa nikim, my actions are pure. Vani barav alei b'shalva, and I have a miserable life, and I have no peace. I have no respite. I don't understand HaKadosh Baruch Hu. What is the? Don't you tell me if you do mitzvahs you're going to get rewarded? Didn't you tell me that if you take care of me, says Hashem, I'll take care of you? The way that we act towards Hashem, that's the way He's going to act towards us. I just don't understand. Says the Malbim on this pasuk, not only do I don't do any sins, I don't even think about hate. In my mind, my hands are clean. My mind didn't think about doing sin. My hands don't take control and do sin. It doesn't even help. Because with all of this, I'm afflicted. I don't understand. I don't understand, is what he's saying over here. If I'm doing what you want me to do, why are you making my life so hard? If I'm an example to Klal Yisrael, the way that a Jew should live their life, so why are you doing this to me? It doesn't make any sense. And if people see that by me, they're going to say, so then what's the point? Why should I try to become a better Jew? That's what happens to tzaddikim. When you hear the story of a tzaddik who's going through suffering beyond belief, so that's what tzaddikim get. They work the whole life, they sit in Eretz Yisrael, and they sit and they learn, and they do, and they do. And then, Rahman al-Tzan, somewhere 60 years old, they get some terrible machla, 3 days they're gone. How does that make any sense, Hashem? How does that work? So this is the opening remarks over here in this part of the Tehillim that Asaf, who is the author of this Tehillim, is asking, like, so what is the point? I'm stricken all day long by sorrow. You're chastising me every single morning. I wake up in the morning and I'm already techacha, the rebuke and the chastisement and the punishment is coming. Let me have some breakfast, please, a cup of coffee first. Let me just breathe a little bit. No, from the minute that I wake up in the morning, it's coming already. Why, Hashem? Say the other Mefarshim on this. Says Rashi, V'sachachti, you are rebuking me. Nireis kol hayoim tamid. Mi boiker leboiker. From morning till morning, all day long, I see mischadshos tzaros chadashos. New sorrows, new sufferings come my way. Does it make any sense? It doesn't make any sense. Says Mitzudas Dovid, V'hinei ma'isa ha'toiv ha'ilu liyos negur b'chales. I said, I don't understand. I do good, and what do I get? I get negua. I get punished all day long. V'lovai like toichachais yisurim, and upon me comes the suffering and rebuke b'kol boiker every morning. However, then I look around and I see the wicked people. Ein machzor, they're lacking nothing. Ve'ein muka ma'una, they have no punishment, they have no pain. Everything is good. I simply do not understand Hashem. How are you running the world? This doesn't make any sense. Says the Malbim, I'm afflicted all day long. I didn't even sin. Now, Asaf can say such a thing. We can't really say such a thing, so we have to be mafashresh. We're going to have to examine our deeds to see why it's happening. But Lamaisa, I'm looking at my own life. I know myself very well, and I'm pretty sure I didn't really do any terrible sins. And the Rishoyim were doing terrible sins, getting all the good, and I'm getting afflicted from morning till night. What did I do? Ratzah Loimar. You end up afflicting me in the morning. Even though, now this is the response of an Oived Hashem. Someone that serves Hashem responds like this. Even though that I am being afflicted for no reason, and I look at this, but you're afflicting me and you're sending me pain, so it's some kind of a rebuke and a criticism and muster that you are sending me every morning. I think like a Yid. And the Jew thinks to himself, there's no such thing as Yisurim, as suffering, without having of sin. I examine my actions, and I'll increase my strength and my tenacity in the world of Yiras Hashem, in fearing you and having awe of you, Hashem. So I don't get it. Believe me, I don't understand. I thought I'm doing everything the way that you want me to do it. But if you're punishing me and you're making my life miserable, says Asaf, so then it must be that I have to examine my deeds. I must have done something wrong. So I'll look. I really can't find anything. Meaning, the guy's a Navi. He's a Navi. He's a prophet of Hashem. He's doing things in a great way. But I'll be mefashresh, I'll examine my deeds, and I'll be meisiv, I'll add Yiras Shamayim, Yiras Hashem into my life. Nevertheless, at the same time that I'm being afflicted, the Rishoyim, real wicked people in this world, are doing major sins, and they're successful. I can't process this, says Asaf. It doesn't make any sense. But I'm going to be a good Jew, and with my questioning over here, I'll still examine my actions and my deeds to try to figure out what exactly it is that you want from me. And this last verse over here in this trio, it says, Imamarti asapra kamayhine dor banecha baganati. Now, if I would tell everybody how it is, meaning I would just explain, I'm a tzaddik and HaKadosh Baruch Hu afflicts me anyway, so then you should know that this generation of your children, so it would appear as if I was faithless, but we'll see. So let's just see how Rav Hirsch says, and then we'll see the other Meforshim. He says, if I would end up telling the children, the offspring, the people of this generation, I would tell them what's going on in my life, how seemingly unjust and unfair everything. It doesn't make any sense. So then, begadati, I would look like I'm rebelling against you, Hashem. The calamities which befall me incessantly prove to me that, in fact, it says the Rav Hirsch, that these calamities which are befalling me seem to prove to me that I thought that I was one of your own. I thought I was looked at as a child. I thought I'm someone that is precious in your eyes. But I'm beginning to feel that I really don't find much favor in your eyes. Because as I look around the world and I see the difference between my life and the life of other people, and I begin to realize that I'm trying so hard and yet I'm the one that is suffering and the other people are not trying so hard and they're prospering, so therefore I'm beginning to think that actually I don't find so much favor in your eyes. Events made it appear that the Rishoyim are your own, and we are the ones that are Boigdim, we are the ones that must be rebelling against you, and therefore we found displeasure. So I have to be very careful, as we'll see the other Mefarshim over here. I have to be very careful the way that I share this information with other people, with the people of our generation, because they're going to get the wrong idea over here. So the Metzudas Dovid says like this. That means that even the children of this generation, the ones that believe in you, when they hear about the things that are going on and the punishments that are coming to seemingly good people, and there's what to be mahar, there's what to question, why would Hashem do that? Then by me telling them what's going on, I'll turn them into traitors and rebellious people, and therefore I'm not going to. There's nothing else that I can say. I've got my questions on you, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, but we're going to leave it between me and you. If I go and start telling you, sometimes you're going through a hard time, and so you turn this up. Can you believe this happened to me? I don't understand. Like, me? This is really happening to me. I can't believe this. Someone's saying, wow, you're right. How could it be happening to you? You're such a tzaddikus. You do so much. Chesed, tzedakah, davening, tznius, dilababa. How could it be happening to you? You're right. Says Asaf, I'm not going to share my questions on you with anybody else. Because I don't want to make anybody else weak in their emunah. I don't want anybody else to have the same questions that I'm having myself. I don't understand. But why should my friend not understand either way what's going on? And that's why if a person, the more that you keep your, sometimes if you ever look out at a room, I think to myself sometimes when I stand up to speak on Shabbos, you look out at the room, and many people that are sitting in the room, I know what's going on in their lives. Not everybody knows what's going on in their lives, and I only know a fraction of what's going on. If everybody would know what's going on in everybody's life that's sitting in the room, it would defy imagination how many people are struggling and suffering and going through hardships and difficulties. Now, if you're makabel, all good, the way that we spoke about before, remember, the whole build-up to this was, I have to recognize that everything that HaKadosh Baruch Hu does, it's all the taiv, it's all for the good. Hashem doesn't make any mistakes. He didn't get the wrong address. He didn't send me something that I don't deserve. It's all good. But at the end of the day, it's very common that people will ask the question, how could it be that if I'm doing so much good that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is sending all the things that He's sending? Says the Metzudas Dovid, don't be so quick to share your travesties in life with other people, because just like you yourself might not have the full emunah that is necessary to understand why HaKadosh Baruch Hu is doing what He's doing to you, you could end up causing a weakness in other people's emunah and their connection with Hashem as well. And therefore a person should be quite careful the way that he expresses and the way that he shares his suffering or his difficulty or her troubles that she has between her and HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Be careful. You don't want to make yourself into a boigid, to a rebellious person, and you certainly don't want to make other people to be rebellious against Hashem. So Rav Gamliel Rabinovich writes on these psukim the following idea, and he says like this. He says like this. If I'm going to tell everybody what's going on, the nisyonos, the challenges and tests that I'm going through are so great. If I will go and just publicly announce all the suffering that I'm going through, Yigrom adavar lekach, it will cause hine dor banecha begadati, the generation of your children begadati are rebellious. What does that mean? Shvnei Yisrael lebaydim v'yisoy miderech Hashem. The other Jewish people, they will rebel against you and they will turn away from the path of Hashem. V'alkein loy adaber al kach, I'm not going to say a word. V'ad kedei kach godol ha'ester upon him. I'm living in a world where the hester upon him, your existence, your presence, seeing you is so hidden, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. V'achshev oladas zois amahu be'ena hineni choyshev b'daiti al midoisav shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu. I thought to myself, why is Hashem doing what He's doing? V'nirli shem ki'ilu l'loi mishpar chas v'shalom. To me, it looks like there's no real rhyme and reason and justice of why you're doing what you're doing, Hashem. So I'll tell you what, I'll just keep it to myself. I'm not going to go and tell anybody else. I don't understand. They're not going to understand. I myself am struggling to understand why you're doing everything. Yes, we said the way to go is to believe everything that Hashem does. It's all good, of course. We have to work to get ourselves to that level. We have to keep telling ourselves, drilling it into our hearts and our minds over and over and over and over and over again. But I don't want to cause somebody else to be weak in their emunah. These challenges which we see happening in every generation, like we see, the suffering of the Jewish people, it increases every day. Every day the curse of today is worse than the curse was yesterday. There are many people that go, they leave this world and they go up to the heavens with the spilling, so to speak, of their blood. And they leave behind them widows and orphans. This is Lag BaOmer today. There's already the tragedy that took place in Meron several years ago. And there's 45 families that were deeply affected, or some of them had sons, but there are many families that were deeply affected. Women that are still widows, women that were pregnant at the time that the whole thing took place, children that don't know who their father, they'll never know their father. Suffering still until this very day. How could it be? Many, many other sufferings that will come. The hiddenness of your glory, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, is great. Till it looks like to the eyes, it looks like there's no real rhyme or reason. And we live in this world, and the world that we live in, it's very hard to see the truth, it's very hard to see the reality. Asaf is being very honest over here, and he's saying, I myself, not so sure I understand why it is that you're doing everything you're doing. I don't want to weaken the resolve of the rest of Klal Yisrael, so I'm going to keep these ideas and these thoughts to myself. However, he goes on and he writes that it says, Ima Marti, this is the next pasuk over here. Tesvav, Ima Marti, if I say Asap Kamal, tell how it is, that's the pasuk. So he says, the challenge is so great. I'll tell them out loud. Now this is where he shifts gears over here. If I'll just tell you the facts, like the news, CNN would like to tell you the facts, but I don't tell you the pinimis, I don't tell you the inner essence of why things are happening the way that they're happening. That really, like we said in the beginning, all Yisurim that a person will go through is the taiva, it's all for the good. Yigram adavar lekach, it will cause. So if I don't explain the background information on an Isayan, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives every challenge for the good, and He does it to make me stronger and make me better, and that I'll cleave to Hashem, I'll come back to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. If I strayed, the Yisrael are supposed to bring me back. If I have koiches, I have strength inside of me, more well springs of Amunah I never used, they'll become greater. If I don't explain that part of the equation, then I'm just like a newscaster who's telling the Jewish people the facts. Look at this. This person A good person, and he's going through all this suffering, all these struggles, must be that there's really no rhyme and reason. It's not true. We learn a very important thing. If a person chas v'chalila ever has yisurim in their life, when you want to explain to your children or your grandchildren or your spouse or your friends why what is happening, you must explain the pinimius ha'inyan, the inner aspect of those sufferings. You can implant in your children, in your spouse, in your family, in your grandchildren, you can implant within them simple faith in Hashem. And by doing that, no one's going to turn away from Hashem. When we have no understanding of why HaKadosh Baruch Hu is doing what He's doing, and we look at the world and we look at our lives and everything is so confusing, so then a person could end up veering off the pathway of Hashem. But if I understand in myself and I can explain it to others that HaKadosh Baruch Hu has a plan and He's changing me and He's working on me and He's making me a greater person and there's things that I'm going to go through because of this challenge in my life I never would have gone through any other way, and that's why Hashem is doing it, so then no one's going to turn away from Hashem. Adarabah, they'll get stronger in their emunah. They'll be closer to Hashem. But if you don't explain it in the right way, it's dangerous. That person who's watching you go through what you're going, and you don't handle it in the right way, and you don't talk about it in the right way, and you don't explain HaKadosh Baruch Hu is so kind, He's so good, He knows everything He's doing, He's working things out in such a way, it's part of the master plan. That person who's watching you suffer, Khalila, it will damage their amunah as well. So we have to be very strong, as the Tehillim said in the beginning. We have to develop our hashkafa. Hashkafa means to be the mashkif, the way that you look at things. We have to develop our hashkafa to recognize and realize that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is doing everything. It's all the taiva. It's all for the good. We're not going to get down about it. We're not going to get destroyed about it. We're going to be strong about it. And when we speak about it to others, we're not going to be like this Nebuch case over here. Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. How could Hashem do? Hashem, He could do. Because Hashem knows very well what He's doing. And He's doing it all with a purpose, with a plan. It's all for the good. And I was thinking that this is really what this day of Lag BaOmer is all about. It's, of course, we always mention this, the Hilul of the Rebbe Shimon Bar Yochai. This is the Yortzeit of Rebbe Shimon Bar Yochai. And Rebbe Shimon himself said, don't cry on my Yortzeit. Don't be sad on my Yortzeit. It's a day of great celebration because of everything I went through in my life. I was zeicha to the to the lights of Torah, Zohar, Kabbalah, mysticism that nobody else in the world was until that time. I brought down such a light into this world. That's all the fires that people saw last night. People light the fire, what? To make s'mores? Is that what they lit the fires last night? To melt marshmallows? It's not why Rebbe Shimon Bar Yochai's day is associated with fires. Because the fires of the Torah that he brought to this world, the light of Torah that he brought to this world is extraordinary, and we're still living on those lights today. However, there is another part of Lag BaOmer which we spoke about yesterday in the drasha on Shabbos, and that is the cessation of the death of the students of Rebbe Akiva. Now, I just want to build it up more than we did yesterday in the drasha, just so you'll understand what this means. Rebbe Akiva was a shepherd boy. His parents were gerim, they were converts. He did not know an aleph from a beis, nothing at all. The Gemara tells us he despised Talmidei Chachamim. If I would have seen one, says Rebbe Akiva, before he became one himself, I would have bit them like a donkey to break their bones. I could not stand the face of the Talmid Chacham and what they were all about. And he's out there shepherding in the fields of one of the wealthiest men in Yerushalayim, and his daughter sees this shepherd boy out there taking care of the sheep, and she's watching him day to day. A simple person. She's coming from the richest family. She can marry anybody that she wants, But there's something that attracts her to this young man, Akiva. And she goes one day to him and she says, Akiva, she said, I have a shidduch idea for you. He says, for me, really? Who is that? She says, me. She says, you? The daughter of the richest man in all of Yerushalayim, you want me to marry you? She says, yes, on one condition. She says, after we get married, you have to go sit and learn in yeshiva as long as you possibly can to become a gadol b'Yisrael, a great person in Klal Yisrael. He says, are you kidding me? I don't know Aleph, I don't know Beis, I don't want to know anything, I don't want to learn, I don't like Talmid Chacham, I don't want anything. She says, but you don't understand. I see in you such potential. I see such greatness, and I know that the Torah is what is going to bring it out of you, Akiva. If you will go and learn, I promise you, there will be no one like you in the entire generation. I will support you, I will encourage you, I believe in you, and I'll teach you how to believe in yourself. And she said, I'm a very rich woman. I'm sure my father's going to give a very big dowry. We're going to have a beautiful chasana, probably in the Beverly Hills Hilton or the Waldorf Astoria. We're going to invite everyone that we want. There'll be a shmorg from the beginning until the end, the highest class meats and liquors and the biggest band and everything. It's going to be amazing. What do you say? He says, all I have to do is learn? Fine, it's a deal. She goes to her father. She tells her father, Tata, I get a mazel tov. For what? I'm a kala. You're a kala? I don't remember having sent you out in the shidduch. Who you married? The Rosh Yeshiva's son? Who is it? The Rosh Koilah's son? Who is it? The Gadol Dor's son? Who is it? No, Akiva. Akiva, which Akiva? Which one is he in the yeshiva? Akiva, your shepherd. What? Says the father. The shepherd, Akiva? That simple person? Are you kidding me? And she says, no, I'm not kidding you. He's a tzaddik, Tati. And you're going to see he's become one of the greatest people in the generation. And he says, if you dare go through with this marriage, I'm cutting you off completely. You're not getting a penny from my will, from my name, nothing. Your wedding is on your own. You're living on, you're not getting anything. She said, that's okay. Akiva is worth more than all the money in the world. She comes back to Akiva. She says, listen, there's a little bit of change in plans. This whole thing about the big dowry, well, my father just pulled the plug on all of that. There's not a penny to our name. We're getting married in the backyard. I'll call the rabbi. We'll get 10 people, make a small minyan. And not going to be such a big band and not a shmorg and nothing. No sushi, by the way, either. But we know what? We're still going to get married. And he says, you serious? She said, I'm serious, but Akiva, you're worth more than all the money in the world. Go and learn. I'm telling you, you'll be a leader of the generation. They get married. She sends him away to yeshiva. 12 years he goes to yeshiva. We all know this story. He goes 12 years. He starts in cheder. He's learning with little children, 3 years old. They teach him Aleph, Beis, Gimel, Dalet, Hey. He begins climbing up the ladder, until he's sitting in the front row of the Beis Midrash, to the great Tanaim of that generation. 12 years he comes back home. He's about to knock on the door to say hello to his wife. She should get some nachas from him. And here's an old man saying, Rachala, how long are you going to let that Akiva go and sit and learn without coming and seeing you? What kind of a husband is that? And she says, what kind of a husband is that? First of all, I'm the one who sent him out. And I believe in him. And if he would go for another 12 years, I will be so excited. He'll become even greater than he became now. And Akiva turned around and he went back to the Beis Midrash and he went to learn for another 12 years. When he comes back 24 years later, he is the leader of the generation. And he tells his wife, Shali v'shalachem shalah, everything that I have and everything you, Klal Yisrael, is all because of her. And he begins building the biggest yeshivas in the world. And Akiva is a master of Torah. Even Moshe Rabbeinu could not believe that there was a person in that generation that was as large as a Rebbe Akiva. And he builds a yeshiva of 24,000 students. And Rebbe Akiva is a Tana. That means he's an author of a Mishnah. That means his students are all Tanoim. They're supposed to be the highest level that you can have in Chazal. And from them is going to come all the Torah for the next generation. And it begins to happen like a wildfire. Day number 1 of the Omer, 800 Bachim died like that from a very wicked disease called Askar, which is like diphtheria. It starts in the stomach, goes all the way up to the throat, and they can't breathe, and they die. Imagine Rebbe Akiva is running around 800 levayas, 800 funerals, 800 shiva houses, 800 hespedim. The next day, another 800, another 800, another 800. At the end of 33 days, could you imagine how drained Rebbe Akiva is? Could you imagine the shock of his life? He walks into the Beis Midrash on day number 33, and there's not a single soul in that Beis Midrash. Every stender empty. Gemaras are sitting on the stender closed. Sidurim are on the shelf. No davening, no learning, no shir, nothing. The life that began from the moment that his wife told him that I believe in you, you'll become a Gadol B'Yisrael. And he worked and he worked and he worked for all of these years to accomplish what his purpose was. HaKadosh Baruch Hu tells him, Akiva, I don't want any of it. And he spits it all out, and after 33 days, Rebbe Akiva, is walking in the Beis HaMidrash where it is so deafeningly silent. It must have been the most depressing day of his entire life. Everything I did, Hashem, I did for you. Every Mesiras Nefesh, all my sacrifice, I did for you. You wanted me to marry the richest woman in the world? She became the poorest woman in the world. You want me to go to yeshiva? I had to embarrass myself. I was a 40-year-old man. I sat on the floor with cheder boys to learn Aleph Beis. I climbed up the ladder of greatness, and I became a Rebbe Akiva, and then I built a yeshiva. You know, it's not easy to run a yeshiva for 24,000 students, 24,000 beds, and 24,000 meals, and 24,000 problems. And I did it all for you, Hashem, for the next generation of Torah. And you take it all away from me in 33 days? I'm worthless. You don't want anything. Why would you do that, Hashem? Why would you do that to me? I'm the tzaddik of the generation. I should have success. I should have prosperity. I should have the nachas to see all my talmidim grow and grow and grow and become the next leader. You take it and you shove it away and you spit it back in my face and you say, worthless. I don't want anything. And Rebbe Akiva, I don't think anybody would have any complaints on Rebbe Akiva if he would have gone to his bedroom, put the do not disturb sign on his door, do not disturb ever, crawl into his bed, pull the covers up over his head, bury his head under the pillow, cry himself to sleep for the next few months. Maybe after a few months or a few years, maybe he'll crawl out of bed and say, okay, what can I do with my life right now? Or maybe I'll go into business. I don't know. But this whole thing about the Rosh Hashiva, Torah, listen, I'm not taking the chance of another 24,000 students getting killed because of me. I just can't do it. Could you imagine what he felt like? But the Gemara tells us that the Oretz HaYeshayimim, Eretz Yisrael was desolate. The Torah of Rebbe Akiva, it was gone. The world was so quiet, that deafening silence that was in the Beis Midrash, it permeated all of Eretz Yisrael. Ad Sheba Rebbe Akiva, until Rebbe Akiva came to the sages in southern Eretz Yisrael, he found 5 new Talmidim and he began teaching them Torah. So the Rizal asked, how long did it take Rebbe Akiva to crawl out of his misery? How long did it take Rebbe Akiva to overcome the pain that HaKadosh Baruch Hu just spit in his face? The holiest man of the generation, his whole life was ruined in 33 days. Again, whatever suffering we're going to go through in our lives, whatever pain we're going to go through, nobody could even relate to what it means that Rebbe Akiva would dedicate his whole life to Hashem. Everything was taken away in 33 days. How long did it take Rebbe Akiva to stand up on his own 2 feet and trek to the southern Israel and find new Talmidim? Says the Arizal, that day itself. The day of Lag BaOmer, where there was not a single student of his to die anymore because they were all dead. And his whole life came crashing down. And there was nothing left. And you could really have good complaints against Hashem. Really, Hashem? That's what you do to me? Akiva, Rebbe Akiva, your favorite one in the generation? That's what you do to me? Look at the Rishoyim, the Romans are prospering, they're strong and they're mighty. Look at this one over here, doesn't keep the mitzvahs and he's making a lot of money. And look at this one over here, he's got a yeshiva, he's bustling and hustling. I have nothing? That's what you do to me, says Rebbe Akiva? You know what? I know that everything you do is good. Because that's the mantra of Rebbe Akiva. Rebbe Akiva is the one who was once traveling along the road and he needed a place to sleep. And he comes knocking on the door and he says, can you do me a favor? I don't have a place to sleep. And they said, get an Airbnb. We're not taking you to our house. He goes to another door. He says, please, it's getting late at night. It's getting cold outside. Can I come sleep in your house? Now, this is way before there were pictures. Nobody knew it was Rebbe Akiva. And they said, no, we don't take guests in our house. Sorry, you have to go somewhere else. And he goes around, but every door that shut on his face, he said, Kol de Ovid Rachmana Litav Ovid. Everything Hashem does, it's all for the good. Everything he does is for the good. I don't understand right now why they're shutting the door on my face. Okay, I'm sure I'll find out. He goes out into the field. We all know the story. He has a donkey. He has a candle. And he has a chicken. And he's out in the fields. And he's there sitting by the candlelight learning. At least he can learn. Suddenly the wind comes on. Whoosh, blows out the candle. Now Rebbe Akiva can't learn. He doesn't complain. Kol di Ovid Rachmana Latav Ovid. Whatever you do, Hashem, I'm sure you have a reason. Comes along a lion and devours his donkey. How am I going to travel? How am I going to be able to carry my goods? No complaints. Kol di Ovid Rachmana Latav. Whatever Hashem does, all good. At least he has a chicken left. Chicken will wake him up in the morning, give him some eggs to be able to eat. Comes in the middle of the night, a little fox eats his chicken. Now I have nothing. No candle, no donkey, no chicken, no place to stay. I'm in the fields all by myself. Rebbe Akiva doesn't complain. Not even one complaint out of his mouth. Not one. Why, Hashem? Whatever you do, it's all for the good. He wakes up in the morning. He goes back into town. He sees that bandits came, thieves, marauders came in the middle of the night. They pillaged the whole town, looted and killed and everything. And he says, look how kind you are, Hashem. If I would have been taken into somebody's house when I was looking for a place to stay, I would have been part of the pillaging. If I would have been out in the field and my candle would have been there, they would have seen me. So you blew out the candle. If my donkey would have brayed in the middle of the night, they would have heard me. They would have come and got me. If the chicken would have cock-a-doodle-doo in the morning, they would have caught me. So you killed my chicken. Everything you did, like I said, it's all l'taiv. It's all for the good. Rebbe Akiva is walking into Yerushalayim with 5 other Tanoim, 5 other great sages. And they see the Beis HaMikdash in ruins. And they all start crying. And Rebbe Akiva starts laughing. And they say, is something wrong with you? Do you see that there's a Chorban Habayis? The Beis HaMikdash is destroyed. Klal Yisrael is going in the Gullus. You're laughing? Why are you laughing? And Rebbe Akiva said, why are you crying? He said, why are we crying? The Beis HaMikdash is lying in ruins. We're in Gullus. We're in exile. The enemy has overcome us. We became so weak. Of course we're crying. And Rebbe Akiva says, Lekach ani mesachik. The same exact reason that you are crying, that is the reason that I'm laughing. You're looking and you're seeing destruction. You're looking and you're seeing Gullus, you're seeing exile. You're looking and you are seeing the weakness of Klal Yisrael. But you know what? I know that there's a nevuah, there's a prophecy that says that the Beis HaMikdash is going to be destroyed. And there's another prophecy that says that even though it will be destroyed, it will be rebuilt eventually in such a way that it will never disappear. And everyone's going to return to Yerushalayim, and the exile is going to be over, and we're going to sing and dance in the streets of Yerushalayim once again. He says, you know, it was always bothering me. If the temple is here, and one day there's going to be some kind of a ghost, but it hasn't happened yet in my lifetime, I never saw. So how do I know then that there's going to be a kiyum, there's going to be a nevuah that's going to come true, where all of Klal Yisrael is going to return to the Beis HaMikdash and return to Yerushalayim? But now that I see that there's destruction, now I know there will be rebuilding. Now that we went into the exile, now I know there will be geula. Says Rebbe Akiva, you have to know what you're looking at. You're looking at the wrong, I'm looking at all the good. And this is the life of Rebbe Akiva. And this is the celebration of Lag BaOmer. A Rebbe Akiva whose whole life destroyed didn't ask one question on Hashem. On the other hand, he picked himself up and he went, also, can you imagine the embarrassment? I used to have a yeshiva of 24,000 students. Now I have 5 students. But he put in all of his energy into those 5 students. Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai was one of them. Rabbi Meir Balanes was another one. And he began teaching them Kol HaTorah Kula, and that Torah is what we live on until this day, because one Jew didn't ask a question. He said everything is meant to be. Hashem has a reason. There had to be Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. There had to be Rabbi Meir Balanes. The Torah is supposed to come through them. That's why Hashem did what he did. No questions asked. It's all good. That's, yes. No questions, yeah.
Weren't those 5 new students kind of anxious about becoming his students?
because they saw it.
Just all his students died a horrible death.
Yes.
And it's not like a week passed or a couple weeks, same day.
Well,
he comes to get them.
maybe that's why he only found 5. I don't think anybody else was lining up. I don't think anybody else was lining up at the door of his new yeshiva. Oh, Rebbe Akiva, you're the one who had 24,000 died? Okay, you know what? These were the 5 that said, it is worthwhile to learn Torah from Rebbe Akiva and see what HaKadosh Baruch Hu has in store than to not take the chance and not be able to learn Rebbe Akiva's Torah. So 5 he was able to find, Baruch Hashem. I assume there were other great people that were in southern Eretz Israel at the time. But these 5 were the ones that were willing to take the plunge, and they began a brand new yeshiva as a result of that. And from that yeshiva, we have a Zohar. From that yeshiva, we have Gemara. From that yeshiva, we have Shas. From that yeshiva, we have Halacha L'Maisa that we're living up until this very day, that the Torah goes according to Rebbe Akiva. They carry on the legacy of Rebbe Akiva. But what was that legacy? That legacy was, you don't give up. A Jew never gives up. He looks at things in the right way and not the wrong way. And really, Rebbe Shimon bar Yochai, the famous story of Rebbe Shimon bar Yochai in the cave. The Romans are after him and his son, and they run off into this cave, and they spend 13 years in the cave. 13 years where they're completely removed from the physical world. They only had the clothing on their back. So they went into the cave, they dug holes for themselves. They would remove their clothing, stand in a hole, cover themselves up with dirt all day long, and they would learn the greatest secrets of the Torah, Rebbe Shimon and Rebbe Lazar, his son. When it was time to daven, they would emerge from the hole, put on their clothing, they would daven, then they would go back in the hole afterwards. How are they going to live? How are they going to eat? They had no food, they're on the run, they're like refugees. So Hashem made a chruv, a carob tree grow, miraculously. It usually takes 70 years, the Gemara says, for a carob tree to be able to give off its fruit. It grew in one moment. And a stream of water suddenly came passing through. So they had water and carob. That's all that they needed. And that's how they lived 13 years. Now, when they're in that cave for 13 years, and they're living in a world, no gashmias, no physicality, no pleasures, nothing, only Torah, Torah, Torah. So when they emerged, they finally got a heavenly voice came and said, Akiva! They said, Shimon, Rebbe Shimon, it's time to leave the cave. And he walks out of the cave, and he sees a human being for the first time in 13 years. And in his eyes, this person looks like they are the biggest waste of time. They're just walking. They're not even on their phone. They're just a person walking down the street when you could be sitting and learning. What are you doing? He burns them up with his eyes. Fires come out of his eyes. He burns them up. Everywhere he looks, he burns people up. He can't imagine that there's a world of people that are not busy learning the secrets of the universe all day long. Every single person looks like they're wasting their time in his eyes, burning him up, and the sun is burning him up. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, is that why I sent you out of the cave? To destroy my world? Go back in. Go back in and learn how the Torah is going to be able to transition from the cave into this world, and you are going to become a Rebbe that will share the Torah with the next generation. Another 13 years, another year learning and learning and learning and learning and learning, and he comes out, it's Erev Shabbos Kodesh, and he sees a man running, and he's holding Hadassim, he's holding, how to say Hadassim in English, myrtle branches, 2 myrtle branches in his hands. And Rebbe Shimon bar Yochai is about to burn him up, and then he says to the man, where are you running? He says, I'm running home. Shabbos is coming. Shabbos. He says, what are these 2 branches in your hand? Shamar v'zachar. One to remind me to guard the Shabbos, and one to remind me to remember the Shabbos and all the holy things that come. Wow, says Rebbe Shimon bar Yochai, there's Yidden in this world that are keeping the mitzvahs. Wow, so then the Torah is an amazing thing. Klal Yisrael is amazing. I can see the good in others. I'm not going to burn up anybody else anymore. Rebbe Shimon bar Yochai got the ayin tova, the good eye of his Rebbe, the great Rebbe Akiva. He was able to see, not everyone's going to be Rebbe Shimon bar Yochai. Not everyone's going to have a spiritual experience the way Rebbe Shimon bar Yochai did. Not everyone's going to be able to learn uninterrupted for 13 years straight the secrets of Kabbalah and mysticism and everything. No, nobody's going to be able to do that. But everybody has value in this world. Everybody can do their part in Avodas Hashem and keeping the world running the way they're supposed to. So I'll be able to see the good in all of them. I'll be able to see the positive. Like Rebbe Akiva was able to see the good in everything that Hashem did, Rebbe Shimon was able to see the good in everything that other Yidden did. And that Avas Yisrael, which he inherited from his Rebbe Akiva, who said that the greatest part of the Torah is all that we have to love our fellow Jew the way we love ourselves. He imparted that over to his student, Rebbe Shimon as well, and therefore he's living a life now and he sees the good in every Yid. And that's why perhaps people have testified that the tefillahs that they utter at the cave of Rebbe Shimon, especially on Lag BaOmer, so there are miraculous answers that they experience. Childless people, they have children. Shidduch, people that were in Shidduchim for years, never got married, they have Shidduchim. And people that were sick, they became healthy. Miracles after miracles after miracles. Because Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai was able to see the good that was in every single Yid. He was able to see their purpose and their benefit from being in this world and what they could accomplish, what they could do. And therefore, you come and you daven by his grave, especially on such an auspicious day like Lag BaOmer. So there's no reason why your tefillahs should not be answered. I'll leave you off with a story that I'm sure that I've told probably every year on Lag BaOmer around this time. I have a friend, he and his wife, they were married, I forget how many years it was, 3 or 4 years, and they did not have children. And they were learning in Kollel in Eretz Yisrael. And somebody told them, listen, Lag BaOmer is coming. You have to go to Meron. And when you get in front of the caver, in front of the tomb of Rebbe Shimon Bar Yochai, you got to daven for children. You're going to see you're going to get answered. So he's a very Litvisher guy. He's not into all this, Meron and Hasidus and But you know what? 3 or 4 years without children, and they couldn't figure out why not. It's not going to hurt, that's for sure. It's not going to hurt to go to Meron. Now, you have to understand, for a very pampered American Litvak to go to Meron on Lag BaOmer, where there's literally tens of thousands of people pushing and shoving and everything, it was not a comfortable experience. Now, in order to get in front of the caver, in front of the tomb of Rebbe Shimon Bar Yochai, you have to wait in a very long line. And he told me, it's like sardines. Everybody's one on top of the other. It's very uncomfortable. And it's just pushing. And he realizes as they finally get into the room where the tomb is, he's watching how it's going. You have like 30 seconds in front of the tomb to say whatever you want to say, and that's it. Because it's pushing. So he's getting pushed along like a sardine. And he's just waiting for his moment that he's going to be there in front of the cave of Rebbe Shimon Bar Yochai. He's got to say the words, give me a child. So he's getting pushed. He finally gets in front of the tomb, and he has literally 30 seconds, and he cries out, please Hashem, give us a child. And boom, gets pushed away. That year they had their first child. And they just had their 7th child not so long ago. So if a person is going to the caver, is going to the grave of a person whose eyes saw very deep things in the universe, and was able to see the greatness in the neshama of Klal Yisrael, was able to take from his Rebbe, Kol Dev Rahman, or whatever Hashem does, it's all good, there's no complaints, Hashem knows what he's doing. So then that's a powerful place for a person to be mispal to daven to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We should be zeicher, we can't go. They didn't even let the Jews to Meron this year. They closed it off for security reasons. Probably was a good idea because there were many missiles that were falling in that area already. And we know that our enemies are watching us and we don't need them to target us. So it was a good idea, which means today is Lag BaOmer. You can't go to this caver, especially if you live here in Los Angeles anyway, but you got to daven in the schus of the Tana Rebbe Shimon Bar Yochai, in the schus of Rebbe Akiva. Hashem should answer our tefillos. He should give us the siyata d'shemai that we need in our own nisyonos, the own challenges that we go through in life. Don't complain to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Recognize everything that He does. It's all good. Rebbe Akiva taught us, when you think that you're seeing destruction, you're actually seeing the building. When you think that you're looking at the gullus, the exile, it's actually the seeds of the geula, of the redemption. And yes, Hashem, we should be zeicher to the ultimate redemption, the coming of Mashiach Tzidkenu, b'mheira v'yameinu.